Last week, we basically opened a can of worms, Kath. We started talking about this topic of living out of overflow and performing or living from a sense of performance and obligation. And we've realized there is just so much here to talk about. And so we thought, while let's continue to unpack it a bit today. Let's continue to get a bit of an idea of what we're really talking about. Let's be and become aware of, you know, is this something that I want to be curious about? Is this something that, I want to know more about and work through for my own life? So last week we started, and I think today we keep going. Are you happy with that?
I mean, this topic I can talk about for ages, so absolutely, Elle. And if you're listening today and you didn't tune in last week, we encourage you
Yes.
to go and listen to last week. So we
Yeah.
started unpacking a struggle that I've had for many, many years that I'm
Yeah.
so grateful to have overcome. And it's the
Mm,
difference in living life from a place of performance, like
mm,
performing your way through life, versus living life from a place of overflow and
mm.
overflow in being who you were created to be and in being
Yeah.
yourself. And
Mm,
so we unpacked some of the comparisons,
mm.
mainly so that, because we know in the coaching space, before we even can have a hope to start making any change in our life, we need
Mm.
to create awareness. And even
Yeah.
as a awareness of, this is interesting, as you say, listen with
Mm.
curiosity. So we invite you to listen to these episodes with curiosity and just go, are there any areas in my life where it sounds like perhaps I'm performing versus living from an overflow? And
Yeah.
we're not bringing this topic as a judgment and you bad if you're
No.
living from performance. And it's
Mm-hmm.
more from a place of that's curious. And
Mm.
if you wanting to learn to change
Mm.
and grow in the space, then we invite you to stick with us. We're going to be unpacking this over the next
Yeah.
couple of months. And
Yeah.
because one thing I do know is that if the majority of your life is being lived from a place of performance,
Mm-hmm.
it's a recipe for burnout.
Mm.
So perhaps you're listening and you feel like you struggle with burnout and you have these
Yeah.
cycles. And
Yeah.
you, for whatever reason, you cycle back to this place of burnout and you're starting to ask yourself, what is going on
Hmm.
here? You
Yeah.
know, then perhaps something in what we share
Yeah.
might spark a curiosity, spark a question.
Yeah.
And if you've got any questions, send them.
Send them our way for sure. So last time we spoke, Kathryn, you shared a couple of kind of um they weren't examples, were they? What language were you using them? You were sort of and so I was wondering if there's more of those for this week.
Yeah, so basically, definitions, I suppose, of what
Okay,
does
there you
it
go.
mean to live from performance versus what does it mean to
Yeah.
live from overflow. And yes, we did give examples as well because they help. And it was funny because we got to the end and I'm like, but Ella, I only got halfway through my list. So part two, if you're tuning in
Yeah.
again, I'm just going to continue to share out of my own experience, the
Mm.
shift and the difference. So, one of the things I noticed in myself when I was living from this place of obligation and performing and trying to be someone, I felt
Yeah.
that I was so often stuck in comparing myself with others. And
Right.
then this comparing led to a competing and led to me being someone who I was not. Especially
Right.
in my teenage years, as a young
Mm.
kid in teenage years, you look at your friends and you go, oh, I wish comparing and competing. I wish I was thinner. I wish I was taller. I wish I could, and we start dressing like our friends dress and we start
Yeah.
looking at like what's cool and what's not cool.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes in the name of, fitting in, we end up
Yeah.
showing up and being someone and wearing things we don't really like at all. But,
Mm-hmm.
we've compared ourselves with others. It's what everybody else is doing, and I want to fit in, and that's what we do.
Yeah. And especially because that example there, Kathryn, as well as teenagers, we don't yet know who our authentic self is,
Ah,
really.
absolutely. And my challenge was, and I can laugh at myself now that I carried this kind of behavior
Mm.
way, way into adult years.
Yeah.
I was always looking at other people and, coming into a room full of women, and I would be like looking immediately, what are they wearing? What is
Mm-hmm.
what is fashionable, what is not. Do I fit in?
Right.
Don't I fit in? And a note to self for next time, be a bit more like that way,
Yes.
be a bit less like this way.
Okay.
Is this a dressy crowd or is this a really relaxed in jeans and sneakers crowd? And
Hmm.
I don't want to be overdressed, I don't want to be underdressed like that. And it comes from a place of insecurity, right?
Yes.
You know?
100% it does. And I think as women, I think there's different seasons in our life where we can probably all resonate with that, where we are feeling a little bit of insecure or whatever's going on. And we do show up and we are looking around. But I guess we must note that there might be a bit more of an issue there if that's how it
Yes.
is all of the time.
Exactly. And thanks for bringing that up. And this is, so this is when you're living, I mean, there's a difference in showing up to a event and yes, you are dressed up and it's not
Hmm.
how you normally are. You're a jeans and sneakers person and now you're dressed, for the races or something and you're going, oh, this
Yeah.
doesn't feel like me. But you know what? I'm going to laugh. This is funny. I'm going to have a great day. And in the spirit of the whatever, I'm going to enjoy this time. That's not what
Hmm.
we're talking about here.
No.
Here we're talking about this constantly looking over your shoulder and evolving how you be in the world and show up in the world because
Mm.
of what's happening around you in the world. So you're
Yeah.
living by all these external cues
Hmm.
and very uncertain. Like if you removed all those external cues and said, okay, well, who am I when I take all this away? No idea.
You're lost.
Lost.
Right. I
Yeah.
see. Okay.
And so that's how I lived. So you kind of need to look to external cues and
Mm.
perform and compare and then, sometimes compete, but sometimes copy
Yeah.
to fit in.
Yeah. And is there a time? So what's the flip side of that then? If that's living from performance, what does it look like then to live in overflow in this example?
And it is
What's the
something
flip
that I
side?
think, yeah, it comes with maturity, it comes with age, but I mean, I've met fully grown, 50, 60-year-olds who still are stuck in this. And I'm not saying that in a judging way. That was me.
Mm.
If I hadn't met
Mm.
coaching, that would still be me today. And I
Yeah.
think it was doing the work or going on the journey. I loved your language, going on the
Mm.
journey to discover actually what are my strengths,
Mm.
what are my limitations, um,
Mm.
what are other people's strengths that I can
Yeah.
celebrate and
Yeah.
enjoy because yeah, they're not mine, but I don't that they don't need to be mine too.
Yeah.
So it's sitting in a place of it's way more self-acceptance, accepting who I
Yeah.
am, that yes, I have got gifts to bring, but I don't need to compare them with anybody else's. I don't need to start competing with anybody else.
Mm.
And also even just understanding that in everybody's uniqueness, we've all got
Mm.
something unique to bring it to the table that will be
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
And having the courage to celebrate those differences and enjoy
Mm.
them and to relax into them.
Yeah. Right.
And for
Beautiful.
me, that journey was definitely, felt scary because it felt very exposing, it felt very
Mm.
revealing because I think I'd lived from this performance place. It's a very insecure place to live from. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's coming up for me right now is a time in my life where I was trying to work out like, five young kids trying to work
Yeah.
out how to be a mum. Like how do I want to respond to certain behaviors or certain things that come up? And there's this mum in my life in that season that I adored. I loved the way she showed up. I loved the way she spoke with her children. I loved everything about her response and her way of being. And
Yeah.
so I looked at her and thought, I want to be more like that. I want to be more. And so I developed this thing. And for those who are listening who know people in my world, they'll probably even know who I'm talking about. And I don't even mind saying her name because she'd probably be, honored. And I think I've even told her the story. Her name's Melissa. And so every time something would come up with my kids, I'd think, oh, what would Melissa do?
Yeah.
Right. And so I was kind of borrowing her behavior that I had witnessed and seen and was trying it on while I was trying to work out who I wanted to be. And as I'm listening to you, I guess that's the part of celebrating other people's strengths. I was celebrating because I was enjoying. I loved what I saw, but I hadn't worked out who my authentic self was at this point. So I guess I wanted to bring this up because there's a time and a place when we're exploring and we're becoming and we're on that journey where we are going to borrow bits and we're going to try something on until we become a bit more firmly established in who we are.
Absolutely spot on. And I reckon that what you've just shared is part of the journey towards overflow.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
yes, you're looking from the outside, but you're seeing something in somebody else that stirs up a I want more of that. Like I want to be more like that from a place of that's the kind of person I want to be, which is
Yeah.
very different to going looking at someone and going, oh, I need to be like that so that I can fit in and they can accept me. But it's not really
Yeah.
who I choose to be, but I'm going to be like that anyway. Like
Mm.
I'm going to choose to I don't know, start smoking. I mean, that's a really like, who smokes these days
Can I
anyway, but
just
I'm
tell
looking
you,
to
no,
start
don't
smoking.
choose that.
Because everybody else is, and I don't really want to, but I feel like I'm going to because that's how I fit in. And
Yeah.
that's very different to looking at someone and going, there's an essence to them that is just so, it just speaks to your heart and just delights you.
Mm.
And you go, that's inspiring.
Yeah.
So to borrow something from someone because it's an inspiration and it speaks to your
Mm.
heart about who you want to become is
Mm.
very different to competing and comparing and changing who you are to fit in, to be accepted and to be liked and
Yeah.
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 So that's the difference.
Yeah. That's beautiful. It's a beautiful explanation. And yeah, I think that ties that up and clears all of that up very nicely.
And I would love to meet Melissa. I'm sure I would love her,
You absolutely
and I
would.
mean, and I've got someone in my world too. I mean, there's a couple of people in my world where I think of, and
Mm.
I think, and that's, I think also the reason it's so important to wisely choose who you spend time with and hang around
Yeah.
with, and we choose to be with those who fill us up and who it's like we want some of them to rub off on us because it's
Yeah.
just a delight,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. 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 Yeah. So do you have another definition there?
Yes, so only two more to go. So what I've written down here is when we're performing, and it's kind of taps into what I've said before, but we're behaving in a way that we feel is expected of us.
Mm.
And so I remember a time when I was with a certain person when we were out and about, and I was having a conversation with a group of people, and someone asked me a question, and I responded, and this person after the fact said, "Why did you say that? And you shouldn't say that because it's going to make somebody feel da 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 da." And I didn't really agree with this. And so for the rest of my time with this person, I just didn't say what I really had on my heart to
Mm.
say because I just felt that, you know
Didn't want
what,
to upset
they're not,
anyone. Mm.
yeah, yeah, I don't want to upset them. So when we
Mm.
start behaving in a way that feels like an expectation from someone else that doesn't align with who we want to be, that's performing. And the flip
Mm.
side, living from overflow, is when, again, we've been on the journey to figure out who we want to be like and figure out what our values are. And
Mm.
when we show up and behave from a place that's aligned with our values
Mm.
and the identity of who we want to be, that's living from
Yeah.
overflow. So our
Yeah.
behavior, am I behaving from expectation and obligation, or am I behaving because out of a place of this is
Who I
what I want to bring
am.
to the world. This is who I am.
Yeah.
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 And then the
Agreed.
last point I had was uh also it's another one that that's nuanced. It's not a black and white, there are grays in here, but
Hmm.
often when you're performing, other people are getting your best efforts because it takes effort
Mm.
to perform, so
Mm.
you're efforting your whole way through what you're giving them.
Mm.
But when you're living from overflow, other people are getting the best of you, not only your efforts. It's
Yeah.
like the
Okay.
essence of yourself. Yes, you might be effortful in, well, maybe intentional about how you're
Mm.
being, but it's coming from a place of this is me, this is who I am. Uh,
Mm.
I think you and I on the podcast, like sharing this, I can feel like, guys, you're getting the best of of me. Look, you're getting,
Mm.
it's exposure for sure. I'm
Authentic you.
exposing all the,
Mm.
the bits and pieces that I struggled with, but I feel like what a what a gift to have figured out a different way.
Yeah.
So I think from the bottom of my heart, what I'd love to bring to the space is
Mm,
coming alongside of women especially and saying, honey, if you feel like you've been living from this place of performance and you're tired and you're feeling a bit burnt out and you're feeling
mm,
like, gosh, showing up like this day in and day out is
yeah.
exhausting,
Yeah.
I'd love a conversation. Yeah.
Especially because you've already mentioned it in our conversation that when you remove, like to suddenly begin on this journey and we've become aware that, oh, we've not been our authentic self, the vulnerable feeling of, well, who is my vulnerable self? Who am I? What do I like? How am I going to show up? That you've already said it, but it can be very scary. And I'm
Yeah.
beginning to sense and imagine and feel that it's a scary place to start.
Yeah. It can be. And that's why that's, I think, what I've really been so appreciative of in the coaching
Mm,
space. And I know I bang on about coaching all the time, but it has absolutely been the space
yeah.
where it has been safe. I mean,
Yes.
I've done quite a bit of my being coached, as a coachee, as a client,
Yeah.
in group settings as well as individual sessions.
Yeah.
But the group sessions that I've been privileged to have been a part of have also been safe spaces.
Yeah.
So, and it's often people that are not in my world. So a
Yes.
coach is often someone that's not part of your world at
Doesn't
all. They're
know
an external
everybody and
person, doesn't know everybody, and holds the safe space just to
mm,
explore. So if you are listening and you're thinking
yeah.
there's something about this that stirs you and you think, gosh, I'd love to get there, but that is just way too scary.
Yeah.
I'd like, to encourage you.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to start somewhere, and you don't have to have
Agreed.
it all figured out. I mean, I
No.
think I took heaps of, I read a lot, I listened to a lot of podcasts,
Mm,
but I think my heart was so desiring this journey to figure out,
mm,
who am I? Who do I want to be?
mm,
What does
mm.
that even look like? And the coaching journey was a gentle one. It was a
Yeah.
safe one.
Beautiful.
It was a judgment-free one. It was a gentle one. It was at my own pace. I could explore it at
Mm,
my own pace.
mm.
It's kind of been like different levels, and you get to a level and you think, oh, I'm here, I've arrived, and then
I've
you
made
realize,
it.
oh, there's more. And so, you embark again on the next
Mm,
level, and then there's more. And I
mm.
think there will always be more in this life until
Yeah.
we get to the end. But what a
Yeah.
delight. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I just love that you're sharing this space with us and that you're being vulnerable with us because there's so much to be gained. For us to help begin to realize what does it look like in my life? Is there this struggle or is this in my life? And it's just a really beautiful space to learn from other people's story.
Yeah.
If and it gives us insight to perhaps understanding some of the behavior that we see in people in our own world, in the workplace or in the family and all of those
Yeah.
things. So thank you for sharing the space. I think that, the last time we talked, we might call like part one. I don't know. Part one and part two. And I think this is a really great topic. And I know we're going to touch on this again and again across the year. But thank you for the space, Kathryn, and look forward to continuing more conversations with you.
And thank you for being the other side of this conversation, Elle. And I mean, it's always safe when you're on the other side. And
Mm,
even though we share this to the world, it's still a safe place to have this conversation to share. So thank you.
no,
And
my pleasure.
really look forward to, next time.
Yeah, love it. Thank you.